I have been able to generate almost $5 million solely from monetizing my personal brand online. And I'm about to break down exactly why I am so bullish on LinkedIn. I've gone from creating on TikTok to Facebook to Instagram to Facebook groups, and I help clients do the same things. And right now, at the time of this taping in 2025, I am super bullish on LinkedIn. And I'm about to walk through exactly my journey, the types of content that I make to generate millions of dollars off the platform, and exactly how we monetize this. Now, folks are asking me, why am I doing this new style, this behind the scenes style of content where I'm just sharing everything? And there's a few reasons, and I want to be transparent about those reasons so that you understand why I'm doing this. One, I selfishly want to be able to look back on this. This will be like a diary for me that I'll look back on in 5 years and probably find amusing, thinking about how small I was probably thinking or playing. And so it'll be fun to look back on. Two, I think most of us, I know for myself, I learn a lot by hearing other people's stories, other people's wins, but especially where other people are failing or struggling or what they're thinking about or how they work through something, right? And so I hope to share more of that to help y'all. Three, transparently, I'm investing a lot into our team right now. I hope as I share more about how I'm building my values, where I'm wanting to build our vision, that I can find and attract folks that would love to join me on that journey. So a talent acquisition play here. And then lastly, to just make more friends, right? And build community. I sit in this office by myself all day, so it'd be cool for me to connect with people that find boring stuff like this interesting, right? And so I have this concept that our entire business and agency is built upon, and that is when one of us dies, millions of stories die too. And so I post a lot, I create a lot of content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. But I find that I don't share enough of these just like behind the scenes wins and failures. And so I've been doing that almost like daily for the last few days. So if you guys do like this style and you want me to keep doing this, just leave some comments, leave me a signal, something that shows like, hey, y'all really like this. If it's not helpful, I'll probably just keep making these and keep them unlisted for me to look back on in a few years. With that said, these videos, there's nothing to sell you here. I will actually talk more about that as I talk about monetization here in a second. There's also nothing to gatekeep. And I am very transparent when I say this, or I mean this when I say this, is that what I should say, is that there is nothing off the table. I say this often, but I am not defined by money, accolades, achievements. None of those things make me. What makes me and what I'm proud of is the person I am when no one's looking, right? And those achievements, accolades is not really a defining thing. So anything you want to ask me, money, failures, losses, wins, whatever, you are free to ask me. So with that said, my friends, let's get into this one. This one should be quick, but I think this will be helpful for you guys to, again, understand why I'm bullish on LinkedIn as a platform, what my journey has been, the types of content that actually work to make me money. I can't say it's the only way to do this. I'm just saying here's the type of content that I post every day. You're happy to take these same frameworks and everything else. And then also the ways that I monetize on LinkedIn. So first things first, so you can understand my perspective, right? Let me delete. Wow. Of course, this won't delete. First things first, I was just like you, probably. I was very scared to actually start creating on LinkedIn. LinkedIn was the place that my old colleagues were. I come from a corporate background. After I graduated from Northwestern, I worked in consulting. I also worked at Goldman Sachs. I worked at a tech company called Stripe. And so most of my LinkedIn were just like my old bosses and colleagues and stuff. And when I started this entrepreneurial journey, I was kind of scared, to be quite frank, to like post in front of them and have them see this. So I was very scared to post on LinkedIn. I didn't want to be cringe. I didn't want to come off as that person. Although I was on other platforms, I just didn't want to be that person on LinkedIn, right? In February 2024, something changed. And people try to get me to articulate it out a lot, and I can't. But something changed where I was like, let me just do it. I had around 2,000 followers on LinkedIn at the time, and now we're around 47,000 followers. And so that's around like 18 months or so. Whatever that math is, you can do that math, right? Most of that growth, though, this growth to 47,000 followers actually came just around 6 months ago. And so for the first year, I was just doing a lot of trial and error. I said this in another video, but because LinkedIn is so, like, there's not a lot of creators intentionally creating over there, I couldn't even find a lot of resources and YouTube videos and playbooks to grow on LinkedIn. And so my first year intentionally growing on the platform, I was literally posting every day, 6 times a day. I was taking 60 minutes out of my day every day to craft posts, to write posts. I was getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, so I had time to write my posts for the day. And it was just a grind for 12 months. I'm appreciative of that grind because it has helped me really perfect how I think about the platform. It obviously helps me now work with clients and students in our brick by brick cohort. And so I'm very grateful for it, but it was a grind for 12 months. Again, my most viral post happened in February. I actually entered 2025 with 10,000 followers. There's a video on my YouTube where I'm celebrating 10,000 followers, which happened again just 6 months ago. And so in the last 6 months, I've really grown from 10,000 followers to 47,000 followers, which it may not sound like a lot. It definitely probably wouldn't be that big on Instagram or TikTok, but almost 50,000 followers on LinkedIn is very big. I think of it as equivalent to probably like 100K, maybe 250K on Instagram. I think of it like maybe like 50K on YouTube, and probably like 300K, 400K on TikTok. That's kind of how I value it, right? And so that has been my LinkedIn journey. Now, the types of content that I make and fit generally in one of these buckets. This top one, I call it newsjacking. I didn't come up with this term, folks call it that. And really, it's just paying attention to what's going on in the news, what folks are talking about, and having a very unique angle, opinion, approach to that topic, right? Please understand what I'm emphasizing here. I don't just say like, oh, everybody's talking about the game that came on last night, and I also just talk about the game and what everyone's talking about, right? Nor do I talk about everything that's happening. What I do is I find certain things that my ICP, my ideal client profile, or I just find interesting, or I know that folks are watching, or I know they're keeping up with. Examples of this. For me, I talk a lot about sports content just because I'm into sports and my ICP is. But for some of our clients, we talk about like VC news, right? Businesses that just got acquired. We have another client where we talk a lot about AI news, whether that's investments in the AI space or breakthroughs in the AI space, updates with things like ChatGPT or Claude, right? And so you need to understand, again, who your target audience is, and then what news would they be paying attention to? Would they also have some thoughts on, right? And then the third piece of this, and this is the piece that makes these things go viral, is in what unique angle do you have on this? So I have an example up here. Let me see. 2 weeks ago, I posted this post, and you can see that I got almost 300,000 impressions. So again, I am playing this game every day. I go viral probably on average like once a month. But 2 weeks ago, I posted this, got almost 300,000 free impressions, right? This is an example of newsjacking. This business, the founder of this business closed their business, and everyone was talking about it. A lot of my folks in my ICP were talking about it. I found myself talking about it a lot to my friends. And so when I get a signal like that, I'm like, okay, this is going to be perfect for me to talk about. But before I talk about it, I have to really challenge myself to say, Casey, is there a unique angle that you actually have here to add to the conversation, right? Or to shift the conversation, or to, just add a new thought to the conversation. If that answer is no, I don't talk about it, right? I just keep talking about it with my friends, my family. I'll talk about it in a client meeting. But if that answer is yes, then I will sit down and make a post about it. Now, I made this post on a Saturday because I had this thought, right? Generally, I don't really post on the weekends, but I had this thought. And again, while everybody was talking about how this founder closed her business and just like being sad and like supporting her, I came in with a unique thought and was like, you know what? I know everyone's talking about how this founder has closed her brand. And I think, again, like, shout out to her. Let's wish her love. But also, I hope you guys see the bigger play here in that not only did she shut down her brand, but she strategically collaborated with all these news outlets to really control her story and therefore really put a lot of equity into building up her personal brand. And so I just took a different approach here, and I just broke down what I was seeing in the market. And I was just saying how smart this was, that not only did she just shut her business silently, she actually collaborated with different news outlets to tell her story, own her story, which then in turn really gave her a lot of like clout and fame and strong personal brand equity. So again, that's an example of that. This post again got 300,000, which is, semi-viral for LinkedIn in the summer right now, and probably led to around 500 new leads to our email list. So things like this are super, super helpful. One of the biggest signals that I generally like to go after, or really, kind of quantify if things are going viral, is the shares. And so we got almost 800 people resharing this post, which is a really good signal. So that's one of the top things that I generally post is this like news jacking, viral sort of content. These tend to be my top viral post. If you look at anything that generally goes viral of mine, it's going to be in one of these. They don't always lead to a bunch of leads. They do lead to impressions, right? Again, I want to make that call out because at the end of the day, I want myself and anybody watching this to be able to build a brand that not only gets impressions and likes and views and stuff, but one that actually makes real impact, because if we can make real impact, income follows, right? And so I just want to call this out. These posts tend to be great. They tend to go viral, but they don't always relate back into impact, right? This is where I then have my series post. Now, these posts tend to be some of my, I would say like mid-size impressions, but tend to give me the largest influx of leads, which to me signals, again, impact is being made. Where, again, a lead is, and I'll talk about this when I come down here to how we monetize, but a lead is seeing my post, right? They're then probably coming over to my profile. They're then clicking on something and saying like, I want more information for you. And so when I see all that activity happening from a LinkedIn post, that signals, oh, this post had some sort of like larger impact on that reader, on that viewer, than probably some of these newsjacking posts, right? But we use all of these in tandem. Here's an example of a series post. Oops, nope, not that one. This one. So generally my series post, I have a series and it goes something like, this person has X amount of followers, but they should have 1 million. Here's the story about that person. If I was that person, here's where I would build, right? Here's why I would build. And then I generally end it like, well, this person probably doesn't have the time to actually build this brand, but you should take all these tips. Again, these series posts are super easy for me to make. I usually make them like once a week. And I love series posts. I try to get all of our clients to have a signature series because these signature series generally can become the unlock to you becoming known for something and you really just building a strong brand that has strong impact, strong familiarity. And then again, as we have that impact, we can increase our income. The last one that I'll show an example of here is personal stories. So you can see that 6 days ago, I made this post about my mom and I. This one got around 130,000 impressions, 5,000 likes, around 200 reposts. Again, this one went pretty good in terms of impressions, not a bunch in terms of just new leads and inflow. But again, we play around with all these frameworks because we want to get impressions. We also want to make impact and get leads. And so I try to do a mix of these things every week or so. The other two, I didn't want to pull up any examples of this. You can go search around on my LinkedIn. You can see some. But the other examples are just pure frameworks, right? So I have a lot of frameworks that we've built our agency on. If you want to see some of our frameworks or get all of our frameworks transparently, you can click on the link somewhere, look in the comments, and you can get our entire brand guide. And so I'll post posts that just say like, hey, try this framework. It's going to help you do this, right? So just pure education. Those tend to get the least amount of impressions and probably on a percentage basis, one of the largest percentages of people that view that post and turn into leads, right? And so I try to do those often, but I understand these probably are not going to be my viral posts this week, but it is going to allow me to take somebody that has been seeing my content, help give them a transformation they're looking for. And because I've given them a transformation, they're like, oh, let me opt in now. Let me give Casey my name and email where I feel comfortable doing that, right? Law of reciprocity. And then the last thing is client stories. I don't really talk a lot about our clients. Most of our clients are under NDAs. And it's just not something I need to do because I always say I'm a player in this game as well. I can just talk about myself, right? And most people that do this work cannot talk about themselves. Most people that own agencies or help people build personal brands and all this stuff, they have weak personal brands of their own and they can't talk about themselves. I am not like those people. And so I don't need to talk a lot about all the clients that we work with, although we work with some really cool people that y'all know. I could just talk about myself, and that's the game I play. At the end of the day, though, every piece of content that I post on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, I shouldn't say 80, I should say 90%. 90% of the content that I post on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they all have some sort of transformation. And this is the unlock I need you guys to understand, right? This is the unlock that has helped me, and probably the biggest mistake I was making for those first 12 months on LinkedIn. I was just trying to talk like I was talking to my boss, like I was talking to peers. I was just trying to sound smart, right? My ego was getting the best of me. And low key, that's why I was like just failing over and over and over again for those first 12 months on LinkedIn. Once I started to center the viewer, my ICP, and just think about what is the transformation I want them to have, and how can I just over deliver with value for them every freaking day with every post? How can I just give away everything? That's when I started to have the biggest unlocks, right? And so I need you guys to get out of your head, have a death to your ego, and just center your ICP, your target persona, understand what transformation you want them to have, understand how you want them to change, and then offer them all those resources through your content, whether that's short form video, long form videos, or written content. Everything in your content has to have a transformation baked in. That's that. And lastly, how we monetize on LinkedIn, right? So you guys just saw all the different ways that I post on LinkedIn. Now, how I monetize on LinkedIn. First, I use lead magnets. I don't use these enough. So this is one of those do as I say, not as I do. But we all understand that on these platforms, we have rented audiences, right? And LinkedIn, or on email, once I can get a person's name and email, that's like my owned audience, right? Open rates are a lot higher when I can talk to somebody through email. Conversion rates are like 40x higher, right? If I want to get somebody to convert. And so you always want to have some sort of offer and lead with value to get somebody's name and email. We just did a whole deep dive on this in our Brick by Brick cohort last night. And so we're working with all those folks on building out their lead magnets. And the second thing that I do on LinkedIn is I try to push people to platforms like this on YouTube and email. And the reason that I'm doing that is to nurture. Here's the thing. We are in a trust recession right now, meaning most people, if you want to acquire clients or customers or whatever you want to do, or just build brand, most people right now, like, we've been scammed, we've been taken advantage of, like, we're tired of it, right? And so right now we're in a trust recession, which means that you need to do more work to earn the trust of the customer or client or brand that you're trying to work with, right? That you're trying to serve or impact. How you can do that faster is through long form content, right? Or platforms or nurture platforms like a Substack, like email, like YouTube. If somebody's on your email list, you can now talk to them in a different way than you can talk to them on LinkedIn through the algorithms. If you are making 20-minute YouTube videos and people are consuming that, right? The more time somebody spends with you, generally the higher trust they'll have with you. And here's the thing, my friend. We earn trust in drips, we lose it in buckets, right? Somebody said that and I really loved it. And it is true, especially in this trust recession. And so you'll see a lot of the different ways that we monetize is through pushing to nurture platforms. Our clients in our agency are 7, 8, and 9-figure CEOs, executives, and founders. I don't get tons of views on my YouTube videos. I do not do them for tons of views. I do them to further nurture the clients that I'm trying to work with. And so after I do a sales call with them, I might send them a video. Or before they jump on a sales call with me, or if they just hear about me, they'll go check out my LinkedIn, then they might go see a video, see how I talk, see how I think, right? And so that is another way that we do that. Our agency is currently capped at 30, and so I do not use LinkedIn, and I want to just be transparent here so you understand the perspective that I'm coming from. But I don't use LinkedIn a lot to grow our agency. Although if you are trying to grow your company, whether that's clients, what have you, LinkedIn is a great way to do that. I'm just saying at this point in our stage with our agency and how I want to work with our agency right now, I just want to stay super small and boutique. We have been an agency where we've had 60 employees and almost 100 clients, right? That's not the game that I'm playing these days. So our agency is capped, so I don't really grow our agency through that. But we are launching, or we just launched about 5 weeks ago, Brick by Brick, cohort number 1. It is going great. If you want to hear me talk more about Brick by Brick, You can go watch other videos, but Brick by Brick is where I get to work with 20 folks at a time and help them grow their personal brand. That is also capped at 20 folks at a time right now, and we do cohorts. So there's cohorts, probably like 3 to 4 a year. If you want to learn more about that, you can find that link and get on the wait list for that. We're opening up cohort number 2 in about 6 weeks. So that is another way we monetize. We also monetize through speaking deals. Probably at least once a week, I get, let me actually grab this. Sorry, y'all. Just got to grab my charger. All right. Bear with me. This is the true behind the scenes stuff. So at least once a week, I get outreach or somebody comes inbound to us asking me to do some sort of speaking thing. Right now, just because of my own personal travel and different things that I'm doing growing our company, most of the talks that I do are virtual, and it tends to range from around $5,000 to $10,000 for virtual conferences and speaking deals. So that's another way that we monetize. And again, most of those things come inbound because of the personal brand, the goodwill, the value that we put out there, right? We also just this year started doing brand deals. I don't do a lot of them, and I will never do a lot of them. I only do brand deals with brands that I already work with, that I already use, and so it's a natural thing that way. But again, this is a new thing that we're now using to further monetize. And again, the reason why we've added on brand deals and speaking deals is because the way that I like to work in my working style in our agency and in Brick by Brick, I like caps. I like to be very involved in the work that we do. I love the work that we do, which is why I like to be very involved. And that's just the game I play, right? But I understand that I have a team. We need to grow in terms of capital with different things that we want to do. We want to film a documentary at some point. And this documentary, I know is probably going to cost us like 150 grand. And so there's other things that I do to bring in capital and income into our business where I can still grow and build our agency and Brick by Brick in the ways that I want to with those cohort styles and with our agency capping, right? And so we've added on speaking deals, brand deals. I was doing like one-on-one consulting calls at some point, but that was just taking a lot of my time and energy. So I am no longer doing those. But if I was maybe someone like you needing just cash influx, again, just building a brand and then doing some one-on-one calls, easy way to get some cash influx. And the last thing that I've been thinking about here and there, I have not settled on it, but is advertising through our newsletter. So right now I own our newsletter. I write when I feel like writing and when I feel like I have something valuable to share. So I don't have a weekly cadence or anything like that. But again, when I think about, hey, I want to keep our agency capped, I want to keep Brick by Brick capped and very intimate, but I know I want to give my team raises. I know I want to pay myself even more. I know I want to, again, do this documentary. When I think about all the things that we want to do, I think about all these alternative options that we now have access to because of my brand. And so I do think about this newsletter concept that I know I have a lot of friends and peers doing where you get advertisers for your newsletter, right? And so what that does is now that advertiser can have a place in your newsletter. Newsletters tend to have higher open rates than other things. They can get in front of your folks, right? And they'll pay a nice monthly retainer just to like have a little tag in your newsletter. So something that I'm thinking about, I probably won't put too much thought into that until the top of the year or mid next year. But right now, this is how we are monetizing. With that said, my friends, I hope you guys can see how bullish I am on LinkedIn. If you guys have more questions, more thoughts, want me to dive into a specific topic, happy to do so. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.